Hey everybody, this is AlchemistiD, and I am accompanied by LordIce, and at some point, perhaps Andrew. We don't know what happened to him.
Maybe he's in another universe or something. I don't know.
He may have gotten lost in another universe. More on that as it develops. But
The
this
speed took
is
him.
maybe this is the season 9 roundtable for Star Trek Online,
Such as it is.
such as it is. We haven't actually done one of these in a long while. So, for now, it's just me and Ice, and Andrew may or may not join us, uh, depending on whether or not he can escape from the Undine. Um, so yeah, Season 9 just hit. Uh,
Well, it's been around for, what, a week?
it's been around for a week, and we've had a chance to sample like most of what it has to offer at this point. And, but the impact it has left on the game is pretty substantial. So before we go into that, we're gonna go ahead and recap some of the things that have happened since the last roundtable. So of course, Legacy of Romulus happened. Um,
Last time on Star Trek
yeah,
Online.
last time. But what I want to focus on, the most immediately relevant to season 9 would be, of course, season 8 and things that happened there. So with season 8, we gained access to the Solanae Dyson sphere, and they began their practice of one story episode per season, almost, or
Well,
per
we
season
didn't get
update would be a better,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Um,
we got circles within circles, I think it was.
I made that mistake too. It was actually Sphere of Influence. Circles
Hmm.
Within Circles was the first Solanae mission that is not an actual mission. What happened is you got this really good episode called Sphere of Influence, which featured the return of Michael Dorn as Worf.
Into the gateway! Now!
Yeah. Um, Many people thought it bore a lot of similarities to Stargate Universe. Um, I was among those people. I don't particularly have a problem with Stargate Universe, though.
Whereas
Um,
I lived in a cave for most of my life and never watched Stargate Universe.
Stargate Universe, that show was much better in its second season than it was in
I've
its
heard.
first. The first season started really promising and then dragged on forever. Um, but following that, we had the next featured episode was A Step Between Stars, which featured the return of another Star Trek alum, Tim Russ, reprising his roles to which he does again in the season 9 featured episode we'll be talking about later, as well as the
Which is actually
remade
really
board
good.
missions. Yeah, which is actually quite good. And you really can't like Worf. My problem with Michael Dorn, and it's not that he can't do it, because like if you've played Saints Row 2, you know Michael Dorn can voice act fine. He does just fine because he voice acts Marrow in Saints Row 2. Marrow is like this like no he's like this destruction derby driver guy. He like this metalhead. He's the leader of like this metalhead street gang of like destruction derby people. It's Saints Row. It's nuts, and he does a good job there. I always, I kind of felt like his line, like he just kind of like sounded. He sounds in like he's reading lines. He doesn't sound like he
In this
sounds
game
like
or in that one?
Worf if he were reading his lines from like a piece of paper.
I don't know. Sometimes he got pretty influential, like Into the Gateway. There was some emotion there.
There is some emotion sometimes, but a lot of the times, and granted, it's not a really fair criticism considering that's what he sounds like all the time. Like if you ever watch like any time like Michael Dorn is not the person to hand exposition ever. Like if you ever watch like the show, like he was always a really bad choice to handle the exposition because he always sounds like he's reading it off a piece of paper and like not, you know, like if you watch like go back and watch like old episodes of TNG, you'll see what I mean. You know,
Mm-hmm.
his
Early
delivery
TNG.
is his delivery is really flat. That was when they were like working out like who was best at doing what in terms of like the line reading. So like I think Jonathan Frakes I think Jonathan Frakes like said it best. I think this was during his commentary, the commentary track of First Contact, where he was like, there was a point in TNG where he was like talking to the producers, and he's like, listen, don't give me the exposition. Like leave it to Brent Spiner, leave it to Patrick Stewart, leave it to LeVar Burton. You know, leave the expo speak to them.
To the people that are good at it.
Yeah, to the people who are good. Like Patrick Stewart could like read. I'm pretty sure Patrick Stewart could read like the ingredients off a milk carton and make it an enthralling experience for an audience. So, yeah, Michael Dorn is just one of those people that you don't really want.
He's an action star.
Yeah, he's a character actor. He's not really very good at like exposition. He's like,
Although, another of Dorn's less known voice acting things is actually in my childhood favorite series. He was in the fourth Bionicle movie, playing the main character, and he actually did a really good job of voicing that character.
I have never ever been able to watch those. Like, not that I haven't been able to like, oh, they're fucking terrible, but I've never actually been able to like get my hands on one. Like, he did an okay job. Tim Russ did an okay job because, to be honest, Tuvok always sounded like he was reading something off the back of a milk carton anyways.
Which is the problem with most Vulcans.
Yeah, which is the problem with most Vulcans because their hat is like being not emotionless, but so emotionally reserved as to sound like a plank of wood. So it is really hard to inject personality.
Yeah, it's hard to write lines for them.
Yeah, it's hard to write really compelling lines for them. So, yeah, Tim Russ sounds like a measuring stick, and that's what Tuvok always sounded like. So he's doing a good job there.
He did a good Tuvok.
Yeah, he did a good Tuvok. Although here's the thing, and this thing came up, and there was like this interview with him, like there was this interview that they conducted. What the hell is the name of their like of Cryptic's like video podcast?
The one that they were doing for a little while on screen.
On screen. I remember they did one with Tim Russ, and they like asked this question, and this question always makes me cringe whenever it comes up, and it is and the question is like, at what point, you know, how much like at what it's always something along the same lines as like, at what point does Tim Russ end and Tuvok begin? Basically, like is there like is like Tuvok, like how much of you is like Tuvok now? And like that question's always irritating to hear because I forget.
Sometimes.
Like I forget who said this. Well, I forget who said this, and I think it was Gary Oldman who said this. It was either Gary Oldman or it was Alan Rickman, but I'm pretty sure it was Gary Oldman. And he said that anybody who tells you that, like, anybody who, like, tells you that, like, they and their character have kind of become one and the same is either schizophrenic or bullshitting you. And, like...
Or Robert Downey Jr.
No, not even then. Because, like, Robert Downey Jr. has his vices, and schizophrenia isn't one of them. Massive Herculean consumption of narcotics, but not like completely like subsuming his own personality. Although Tropic Thunder was a hilarious movie. But yeah. There it is. Like don't that's such a
That's such a tropes thing to say.
Yeah, it's such a tropes thing to say. It's such a cheesy question to ask. And so I don't really blame Tim Russ for like talking about, all the time people say like you're friggin' Tuvok, like you're acting like friggin' Tuvok. Like, I don't blame Tim Russ for angling that way at all, because you know he's an actor, he's a showman, That's what he does. Is he promotes himself. So, but guys, that's a really that's not a question that really means anything or is ever going to get a meaningful answer unless the actor answering it is fucking crazy. So yeah, before we continue, there is one more item before we get to the season 9 stuff, and
Season 8.5?
well, no, I wanted to jump to the season 9 stuff fairly quickly, and so when I was writing up, I have like a text file of show notes, and one of the things I wrote here right before season 9, and this is a direct quote, is that goddamn Galaxy reboot.
Yeah, it really only benefited the Dreadnought.
Yeah. So what happened is Cryptic started touting this massive reboot of the Galaxy class, and the reason why that's significant is because since the release of the game in 2010, 4 years ago, people have hated the way the Galaxy class in this game has been designed. Back then, it was an unmoving, defenseless slug. It was a flying brick that could not move.
What's your beef with the Galaxy, Cryptic?
Yeah, there's literally a forum thread on the official forums that's been going since that year, I think, called "What is your beef with the Galaxy, Cryptic?" I don't even know how many replies this topic has had because it's still going.
I'm gonna go look it up.
It's still going after all this time.
I'm not entirely sure what forum it's in.
So, eventually, when the game started shifting from pay to play to pay to win, as many people have accused it of being, which is not an unfair accusation to make towards the game nowadays.
It has 662 pages, so 6,000 posts, and it's been going since January of 2013.
Ooh. But because they were making like massive forum changes.
Yeah, this is the new version.
This is the new version. There was an old version before.
And it has 662 pages.
Yeah. So.
Last post was earlier today. Specifically about 20 minutes ago. So it's still active.
Yeah, it's still active. And after the game went largely pay to win with all kinds of ships in the store with all kinds of crazy powers, the one ship that was left in the dust of everything else was the Galaxy, and people hated
the Galaxy Dreadnought.
Except the Galaxy Dreadnought. So what happened? What happened was during this big-ass reboot, and I'm saying that with massive sarcasm quotes, reboot of the Galaxy class, they took 3 ships of the Galaxy lineage: the Galaxy Refit, the Retrofit, and the Dreadnought. And they changed only the Dreadnought.
The only effect that really had anything to do with the other ships is the Galaxy Retrofit, the U-Fly, got a console bonus for having antimatter spread.
Yeah.
Like a set bonus.
It got a set bonus for antimatter spread and saucer separation. Here's the problem with saucer separation. It's worthless. Unless you're flying the Dreadnought. Because at the Dreadnought, if you have saucer separation, the bottom half has like a giant phaser shotgun, and the top half has a giant phaser BFG.
And it's pretty powerful.
So the saucer separation with the Dreadnought is kick-ass. But the reason why saucer separation is useless with the Retrofit is because, A, they buffed impulse thrusters, so the major reason why you would want to separate the ship to be able to maneuver better, you don't even need to do that anymore, because B, you also have like the cruiser comma rays, which improve your maneuverability. So
And you're not turning it into a beam escort. You
Yeah.
don't need to maneuver that much.
So you don't need to maneuver that much, but now you have the ability to maneuver as much as you want practically in a galaxy. So the reasons why you would need to separate are no longer valid. And more to the point, whenever you separate, the AI of the saucer is so bone stupid that instead of firing on your target, it will fly across the map and get itself killed.
I've never had that happen.
It has happened to me constantly whenever I separate. Like, whenever I separate, my saucer, like, starts firing at whatever's in front of me, then it flies away. And I know some people are going to go, well, that's what it was designed for. You know, it was designed to, like, carry civilians and fly away. Well, it's doing a shitty job of it when it dies, like, fucking 30 kilometers away. And, you know, too far away for me to heal it.
My problem with the saucer is the AI keeps it from getting into fights properly unless you separate during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the things I do in Azure Nebula Rescue, I pop off the saucer, I launch the fighters, and I pin the saucer as the pinned target so I know where it is and what its health is. And it will either get stuck on geometry or it will exit full impulse the moment you go into combat instead of it.
Yeah.
So by the time it gets to the fight is over.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. They changed, so they basically, like, gave the Galaxy the set bonuses are set bonuses the Galaxy class
durable.
totally did not need.
It makes it durable.
It makes it more durable than it already is, one of the most durable ships in the game.
Which is nice.
Which is nice, but not horribly necessary. You know, it isn't helping the Galaxy with anything that is. It's not helping it with its weaknesses, and its weaknesses are damage and maneuverability. But it's playing to strengths that are already strong. You know, that's like that's not a problem. That's never been a problem with the Galaxy class in the entire life of the game. That's not what people have been complaining about the entire time. It gives you like a small buff to your maneuverability, but then again, impulse thrusters, RCS thrusters, and the comm arrays. Maneuverability is no longer a problem. It's the damage these ships can put out that's the problem. It's not that much, and this does nothing to alleviate that. So you're really kind of screwed out of, like, this being a useful addition to your ship's loadout.
Yeah, 2 flight turn right, 20 hull plating, 20 armor reinforcement. It really doesn't... Unless you're going for a DPS build and you don't have any damage resistance, you really don't need this build, or this console set. But it's still nice to have.
So what happened was the Dreadnought got a hangar bay added.
The Dreadnought got a hangar bay, it got the ability to saucer separate, and it got a fleet version.
And it got a fleet version with an extra console slot for you to drop the antimatter spread. So you can have...
It also got an extra tactical console.
Yeah, an extra tactical console. It has 4 of them now.
So it's got a 424, which I'm loving.
Mm-hmm. And it's got... So now the Dreadnought is a super durable tank with all these superpowers, and it is 1/3 of the bundle they released. They released it the reboot as a bundle. In this reboot, 2/3 have not been touched.
Or have been touched so very little that it's
No, they haven't been touched at all. The console is the only thing that has been touched. Their stats are exactly the same.
So much for reboot.
Exactly. That's why I was writing the goddamn Galaxy reboot, because like 2/3 of these ships have not been touched. All 3 of them are included in a bundle, and the only purpose for that bundle is to sell Dreadnoughts to people with 2 extra consoles. They're not even bothering to fix the other 2 ships. You know what? You don't even need to touch the refit, because at that point in the game, it's not that big an issue. But at endgame, it's an issue. The retrofit needs that love.
So do a lot of the older ships. But no ship needs love more than the Galaxy retrofit. And as someone who flew the Dreadnought for like 2 years before the reboot, even I will say they needed to have done more. Like, I would have gladly waited for my Dreadnought to get saucer sep if they were going to buff the retrofit first. because they did not do enough to the retrofit. They didn't do anything to the retrofit.
They didn't
And
do.
I love the Dreadnought. I don't even fly the retrofit. And I say that they needed to do more to the retrofit.
And
It doesn't take a genius.
it doesn't take a genius. And you know what else doesn't take a genius? Fixing the gun on the Dreadnought in your Galaxy reboot.
You mean the spinal lance?
This friggin', like, this annoying friggin', like, model geometry issue that people have complained about for years. Years! And it's still crooked.
They were looking at stats.
How many years were they supposedly working on this?
I don't know, but they were supposedly working for the Galaxy Dreadnought saucer set for a year because I remember, like, right before the Galaxy reboot came out, I remember I was talking to Brandflix on Twitter, and I was like, well, you're releasing the Voth Dreadnought, but where's the Galaxy Dreadnought love? Because I'm a big fan of the Galaxy Dreadnought, and I'm like, well, Gecko did say that they were working on saucer sep for it, and this was December 2013, and I linked the freaking tweet, and he's just like, and then this happened. I'm like, about fucking time. So, I think a problem is they're bad at keeping promises.
I don't... That's an old argument with regards to Cryptic that I don't want to really revive. Is like the whole promises and like hearsay.
There's a reason the engineering report stopped.
Anyways, that's an argument that's been had like 8 million times, and it's really there's valid arguments to be had there, but it's not really an argument. That isn't really an argument that it kind of got to the point. I think even people who were arguing, I think even people who were for that argument, people who were arguing that were getting tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's been done to death.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's been like argued to death.
It's the zombie video game of the STO community.
Yeah. So anyways, moving on from fucking Galaxy reboot. Reboot.
Massive air quotes.
Uh-huh. So,
air quotes bigger than the ships that got rebooted.
Yeah. So, moving on, the next point is surface tension and remastered Borg Undine missions are the next thing I wanted to talk about. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
I've already like made my feelings on like surface tension fairly clear. I really like 99.9% of surface tension.
And then there's the end.
And then I got to the ending, which I thought was like the very end of the ending I thought was incredibly dumb.
I've been thinking about it, and I think the best way to summarize the ending to Surface Tension was that it was a Brennan Braga script. It's really nice if you turn your brain off.
Well, it's really. I'm trying to think of I think so there's a STO page on TV Tropes, and if you read, I think the way they handle this, the ending is it's more generous, and I don't think this is the way that they were going. I don't think this is the direction they're going with it. I think TV Tropes is a little too generous with the ending, and basically what TV Tropes said. I forget which page, is they were reading into the ending, and it says, basically the Iconians are letting you know that, okay, the easy way is over, now comes the hard way. Well, what was easy about what we just went through? You put the entire galaxy into, like, general war. Like,
which is what they were supposed to be doing. They didn't want to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, which is what they were supposed to be doing. So, like, the hard way for whom?
For them.
For them, exactly. So, it's like, it's not going to be the hard way for us, because we just got through that. You know? You know, bring it on. You know, yeah, I think that's a little too generous for that ending, and I don't
Yeah, and
think
actually
that's...
at the end of the mission, if you play it as a Klingon, Jim Puck literally says, "We will be ready when the Undine come." Actually, I'm gonna look up a surface tension thing and see exactly what he says. Sir.
But yeah, like the very ending of Surface Tension, I thought was like really like wow. It was like that, like the moment like the portal opened up, I was like, oh, this is not happening. Oh, this is not happening, because I mentioned this in the vlog I made about Surface Tension, and I'm gonna say it again. Here is, you will see in the old Undine mission footage that I recorded pre-Season 9. Like, literally the day before Season 9 released. The morning before Season 9 released, actually. I went through and I played all the Undine missions. All the old Undine missions in the game. And while I was playing them, I was literally talking about, like, how Cryptic are literally just going to have the Iconians, when they show up, they're just literally just going to have them show up and go boo. And like, that was gonna be it. That was gonna be their big entrance, and like the moment like the portal starts opening up at the end of Surface Tension, I was like, oh, don't you dare, don't you
Guess
fucking
what?
dare, this
Pick
is
up
not happening.
Pick up the phone because you called it.
I was so I was so happy. Like, the Klingon War is dead. It's finally, I was so freaking happy, and then that happened.
Oh, by the way, the war with the Klingon Empire is over. We should probably mention that.
Oh, by the way, yeah. One of the driving plot... This is one of the things I really liked about Surface Tension. One of the driving plots of the game is now resolved. Somewhat.
It ceased to be a driving plot a couple of years ago when the Federation of the Klingon Empire stopped paying attention to it themselves.
Yeah, but Cryptic... Shh, Cryptic paid attention to it.
They paid attention to it enough to say enough. It's over. It's finally over.
I think what they were doing is they were paying attention to everybody who was sick of it. Because everybody was sick of it.
It wasn't a thing anymore.
Everybody, like, the player base was sick of it. Even their characters were sick of it. Like, occasionally you'd see, like, flavor text, like, or some, like, in-universe blog entry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Of, like, reports being said, because I remember, like, some, like, internal Klingon report, where, like, describing, like, all the bickering, like, a bunch of, like, bickering bureaucrats and, like, the Empire, basically all universally agreeing this war is stupid. Can we just end this war, please? And that was, like, a year ago?
And the fact that the Empire, and the fact that Jim Pot kept it going, is the major driving factor behind him being an Undine.
Or behind him being implicated as being an Undine.
Yeah.
So, like, I also think one of the reasons, or one of the roles that they wanted Surface Tension to play was jossing that.
Making him not an Undine.
Yeah, making him not an Undine, because if he were an Undine, there was no friggin' way he would ever sign an armistice with the Federation.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a thing.
And also for Quinn, although I thought that was hilarious.
I liked that they played that.
Like, I thought, like running into the Quinn Undine was friggin' hilarious.
And do you know what's even more hilarious? Once you play that mission once, and you roll through it as an engineer with enemy newt...
You can roll through it as an Undine?
No, what you do is, you pop Chronoton Mines and a transphasic bomb on top of him. You click Help Injured Quinn. He stands up, He detonates the mines, you detonate the bomb, and he is fucking dead. You can drop him before he fucking spawns. It is hilarious. You could almost do that with Egan too, and the fucking Egan fight. Can we mention that for a second? The Egan fight is not at all fucking balanced. If you cannot DPS him down, you're gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, if you can't like insta kill this guy, you're gonna die at least once.
Even if you can.
Even if you can, yeah.
Like, my engineers
Again,
have trouble.
The Undine, and this isn't just Egan, but it's particularly egregious with Egan, is... There's that word again, so if you're on TV... If you're frequent TV tropes, take a shot. So, one of the, like, particularly glaring things that he loves to do is he loves to fill the room with fire.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass.
He loves to fill the room. Like, I don't mean like as a local attack, like as in like the Breen.
It gets bigger.
Yeah, it's not like the Breen captains who just have like Mr. Freeze gas around them. I mean like literally sets the room on fire. Like Egan basically goes, dodge this
exothermal
asshole.
induction field on steroids fired from his gun.
He's like, dodge this asshole. I'll burn the whole station down to kill you. And he's like, friggin' sets the whole room on fire. Good luck getting out of that in time, because it drains your HP like crazy.
It makes one Undine saying true. The weak shall fucking perish.
Yeah, the weak shall fucking perish. Unfortunately, the weak is everybody, because he set the room on fire. It's like, what are you gonna do? You're on fire. It's like, the room's on fire. You know, there's no refuge. It's like, where the fuck are you gonna go?
It's really fucking bad.
It's really, really hard, and that was my biggest problem. Like, that was the only really big problem I had with this mission, aside from the ending. Like,
even though we always complain that the game is hard, we always complain the game's too easy, but when it gets too hard, we complain about it.
Well, here's the thing, is it's not legitimately hard, again.
It's just annoying.
It's just annoying. You know, he's just massively overpowered, and the reason he's massively overpowered isn't because he's actually difficult, it's because you've been hamstrung. Nonsensically hamstrung, in fact.
No buffs.
No buffs. So, like, this was the other big problem, is why do I have buffs if I can't use them?
I actually tweeted that to Gecko and I never got a response. I was like, at Cryptic Gecko, why do I have bridge officers if I'm not allowed to fucking use them?
Oh, don't, please tell me you didn't, like, swear at him.
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm actually looking for it.
But it was like that's the reason why. Is like, if you had buffs with you, if you even had, like, one buff with you, this fight would have been way easier. And that's
way
why...
more equitable.
Yeah, way more. And it would have made more sense, because, you know, by the time you're playing this, by the time this is slotted in a normal progression, you will be playing it as a flag officer. And you will be traveling to this starbase that is infested with Undine, and considering the fact Undine love replacing flag officers, one would assume you'd want an escort with you to make sure that doesn't happen. You know? Mm-hmm. So, like, even, like... So, there's literally no practical reason for you to not have support at all. There's not even a story reason given. You just beam down, you're totally alone, except for Tuvok.
And Tuvok doesn't really do that much.
Yeah, and he doesn't do that much. He's not very useful in a fight at all. You know? And again, he's a flag officer. What do Undine love to do? Replace flag officers. So let's send the 2 flag officers into the middle of the Undine-infested space station without help or anybody to make sure they don't get replaced. You know, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, why do we have bridge officers if we can't use them?
Yeah, that's literally what I said. Why do I have bridge officers? Last 3 FEs, I haven't been able to take them. So why do I have an away team? And I mean, some people might say, well, they're probably in command of your ship, and that's what I initially thought. But then I realized my bridge officers and my away team are entirely separate because I have enough bridge officers.
Well,
And even if I don't,
not everybody would, but go ahead.
especially the free players.
Yeah, especially
But then
the
I
free
also
players.
realized you've got all those lower decks officers. Why don't you have, say,
That's
Beta
true.
Shift call up and say, hey, you're in charge of my ship when I'm not here.
That's
also
true.
your job now. Like,
That-
there's no reason not to.
Yeah, there's no reason not to bring at least a couple of them with you. So, like in some missions, like what is it? Like Everything Old is New, where you could like bring 2 bridge officers with you, but not like
Yeah.
the full team. Like, there's no reason for you to be going into this solo whatsoever. So that was my other big problem. But aside from those gripes, this mission was badass.
It really was.
Like, I am a great big fan of... I love it when shows do this. I love it when film series do this. And I love it when games do this. I'm a really big fan of trashing the damn set.
And they trashed the hell out of the set.
Yes. They trashed the crap out of Earth Space Dock. Oh, it's glorious.
Thank fucking God, because I hated that Earth Space Dock map too. It got old.
That's the Earth Space Dock map that like we have been playing, that we have known since the open beta is gone.
Thank God.
It's freaking history. It's
and in
dead.
surface tension, it gets wrecked.
It gets the crap wrecked out of it. And it's awesome. And you get to fight Undine like throughout Earth Space Dock, and they move like xenomorphs from Alien.
Crawling on the walls and all.
Yeah, they're literally coming out of the walls at you, literally crawling along the ceiling towards you and such.
Ceiling, walls, everything.
Oh.
If they can come at you, they're fucking going to.
Yeah, if they can come at you, they're going. If they can get to you, they're gonna. There's like Starfleet officers who are like Undine in disguise, you know, who like you try to like help like wounded officers, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's an Undine," you know.
And there's an accolade for killing 5 of them.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Like some of the wounded officers are legit, some of them are Undine, and it's a really cool. Like it was a really cool surprise when you like ran into one for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm a really big fan of trashing
the set.
the damn set. Like there was an episode of, and I may have mentioned this example in my vlog. There was an episode of Andromeda, like the very end of the first season.
Yeah, I remember this from the...
Incredibly solid first season. The very last episode, they wrecked the entire, like every set. Like not just like the command, not just their bridge set, which they frickin' destroyed. But they wrecked every set, and those sets stayed wrecked into the second season. I love when they do that.
They also did that with Enterprise of all things, with Azati Prime and E Squared.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but it was kind of different. Like when Andromeda wrecked the set stayed wrecked, and then they built a new set. You know, with Azati Prime and such, like they trashed the set,
and it stayed trashed for a while.
It stayed trashed for a while, and it was impressive when they were trashing it.
Battle of Azati Prime is pretty good.
Like that was a brutal freaking sequence. Especially like the friggin' like ceiling crashing down on everybody.
But they also did that with Voyager and Year of Hell. Although magic reset button.
Yeah, Year of Hell. Although Year of Hell at the very least pushed the reset button in a way that was really cool. I so wish they hadn't, but they did.
I agree with SF Debris because I didn't really realize it until I watched SF Debris' review of Year of Hell. They really could have done something with some of the characters. Like how he proposed they change Harry Kim. They could have done that and it would have been great.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have been bland.
That's kind of the fucking point.
I know, but that's exactly that's the point. He had to be bland.
Why?
I wonder how he's gonna play. So also spoilers. Garrett Wang has officially signed on to reprise his role for Star Trek Online.
I think somebody said they might have heard him in the like the background in Surface Tension, but I think he's probably not going to appear until X2.
Yeah, he may not appear until X2 when the plot gets. I'm assuming we'll get to expansion 2, but for the moment I'll just say I'm assuming there's going to be a significant amount of story content moving forward that is faction agnostic.
That's my only other real problem with this game is everything is faction agnostic.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing faction exclusive.
Well,
I liked when there was a difference between Honor Guard and Mako, but now you've got adapted Mako and adapted Honor Guard, and yeah.
as somebody who runs the adapted Mako set, I have no problems with this.
Still, I might run adapted Mako stuff, but I still don't like it. I may run Oxabat sets or Oxabat builds and have it entirely overpowered, but I don't like it. I'm one of the people that would not mind getting nerfed because this game does need a huge balance pass. And let no one tell you otherwise.
Never coming. Never coming.
I can dream.
So, like, moving on to the remastered Borg Undine missions. The old ones were ass!
I remember running the Borg ones with you, but only you were there for the purgatory of the Undine.
Oh my god! I don't remember. I played these missions. I played the Undine missions. I don't remember them being as as soul-crushingly bad as they were. Like, I don't remember that. Like, oh my god! These were... The Undine missions were bad! Like, I know they were rushed out the door.
They really were.
Like, this was the time long before Kestrel came along.
Praise be to Kestrel for knowing how to write a story.
Like, this was long before Kestrel came along as the game's writer. Holy shit! Oh my god, these missions are awful! Or were awful. Now they don't exist!
Half of them.
Which is great! No, like, I mean, like, the missions as they were.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they don't exist anymore. They're dead! That's great! Like,
yeah, because fluid dynamics is almost nothing like what it was before.
mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
A light in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, like, a light in the dark was awful. Awful! And it was dumb! It was so friggin' dumb! Like, at least, like, fluid dynamics gives a valid reason for the Undine being pissed. It's kind of a cop-out, but I buy it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it is a little bit silly. It's cartoony, but it's so much better than what was there before that, okay, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Like, I can't even begin to describe, like, I can't describe, probably because I'm pretty tired right now, but I can't describe how bad. Like, you'll see. Like, you'll witness it. It was pretty bad.
He's going to be uploading those eventually.
Yeah, I'm going to be uploading those with this Roundtable. It's like it's all going up at the same time. And it's, oh. horrible.
I wait for it with bated breath because I am a bit of a sadist sometimes. I cannot wait to see you tortured.
I didn't do assimilation because I already did assimilation like a long time
Didn't
ago.
we do assimilation?
Um, no.
No, we only got to State of Q.
Yeah. We did all the Borg stuff, not the
And
undead
really,
stuff.
assimilation hasn't changed except for the ground map.
Yeah,
Although,
assimilation is largely similar to what it was, although it is now a direct continuation of a previous mission.
mm-hmm.
It is now directly linked to the mission that came before it, as opposed to simply being like something random that happens to you while traveling through space. Um, so there's that. So the Borg and the Undine missions, as they were, are gone. Many of them have been combined into one. Others have been completely removed. It is a net benefit to the game.
A
Nothing.
massive net benefit.
The only thing that was lost was State of Q, and to be honest, State of Q.
If they'd touched it up, it would have been nice, but they didn't really need to.
They
It
did.
was a standalone anyway.
Yeah, it was a bottle, not a bottle episode, but it was a standalone episode anyways. And Gecko has said that they intend to bring it back, but they're probably going to be giving it the remastered treatment at some point when they're working on probably when they're working on TNG interiors for like the interior of the Saratoga and such. So
And who knows, you might even get that first ship interior.
it'll probably be it'll probably be when they develop a TNG interior, and it'll probably be the TNG kit that they use.
Mm-hmm.
So I doubt we'll be seeing the bridge of the Saratoga or anything like that, or Cisco. But yeah, it's probably just going to be using the TNG kit because that's what they used for Emissary. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why they wouldn't. But development of like a TNG interior is a long ways off, especially since they are more than likely developing a Voyager interior as we speak.
Which I wouldn't mind because I kind of liked Voyager's interior, but I definitely prefer Voyager's interior over most of the ones we saw in the show because it seems more Spartan. But it's probably... You should probably do the TNG one first because you're probably going to be able to get a mission out of it.
Yeah, but they're probably they wouldn't. They are featuring Voyager incredibly prominently now, as
Yeah,
of
and in
season
one of the
9.
backgrounds it actually has the proper MSD, so they're gonna have to do that.
In one of the backgrounds, it actually has a blurry picture from Trek Core, dude. It's a blurry JPEG of like the Voyager bridge from like Trek Core or something in like the background of one of Tuvok's dialogues in Surface Tension. So they're going, and then they cut to the inside of the Voyager bridge, and it's the same like slapped
Yep.
ass Intrepid bridge the
It's
game
one of
launched
the
with.
it's either one of the standard science officer ones or it is one of the C-Star ones.
Yeah, no, it's one of the standard science officer ones because there are no C-Store bridges that look
Yes,
like
there
that.
are.
No, there
At
aren't.
least there was one that I thought looked
No.
like it.
Like the Intrepid bridges that were in the Seesaw looked completely different, and they looked even more like slapped ass actually. They looked like something out of like Crest of the Stars almost.
Well, they were also rushed out to
Yeah,
try and make money.
they were also very rushed out. Although some of the bridges that were rushed out were really quite cool. Like the light cruiser bridges were really cool. That they released. But like the C-Store ones, especially the Alpha Bridge, because they were like some of the first bridges they released that actually had a skybox, which was what, yeah, which was like I was part of this. I was in the Space Neon Lobsters at the time. I was like, dude, my bridge is a skybox, and they're like, yeah, what? No way. We get excited over simple things.
Getting excited easily and having the attention span of a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So that's the Borg and Undine missions. Most of it was art changes, and they've done an incredibly good job.
They are far better than what came before. As for what came before, good riddance. Um, these missions do much more for this game and for the narrative that they're trying to tell than the old missions ever did. And the Iconians are made to look slightly more intimidating, and I say slightly because again, like what happens in fluid. One of the things that happens in fluid dynamics is a little cartoony, but it's less cartoony than what happens at the end of surface tension. So I'll take it. Um,
Let me just twirl my mustache.
Let me just like walk out of this portal and heal out towards the entire room. Let me demonstrate how badass I am with like the thing the Didact did in Halo 4. I kill you, and I turn around and I kill you. And then I walk away. I'm such a badass. I just gave the entire galaxy somebody to unite against. My boss won't be happy.
No, they will not.
Nope. Of course, the aluminum trees, like the tinfoil hats, are going to be coming out now. The epileptic tree is what I meant to say. Did I mention I'm tired? The tinfoil hats are going to be coming out. Those weren't really Undine, man. That was another vassal species. No.
Maybe the Undine are a vassal
Or
species now.
not the Undine, but the Iconians. Those were just like another servitor race that they conquered, man. We haven't seen the real Iconians yet. No, you saw the real Iconians, dude. That was an Iconian.
Mm-hmm.
That was an Iconian. And I like they were talking a long time ago. Like, they released pictures of the Iconians, like, a long time ago. In, like, Star Trek Magazine, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about how, like, the design of the Iconians had progressed leaps and bounds from what was shown. No, they hadn't.
No.
That what walked out of that portal was exactly what was in that magazine article, like, years ago.
Except it wasn't red.
Yeah, except it wasn't red. That was about it. Leaps and bounds. Like who was it? Was it like Dan Stahl who was like talking in the article like
Don't believe anything Dan Stahl says.
we've taken like they were called the Demons of Air and Darkness, and we've taken that concept and really ran with it.
And it kind of shows. They do kind of look demonic.
They do kind of look demonic. They kind of look demonic in that picture. And he said that they looked completely different from what was in that picture. No, they don't. No.
Speaking of Dan Stahl, he is no longer the EP. He has moved to other things. He's still at Cryptic, but he's not the EP anymore.
Yeah, he's moving. He's moved to like some new game project. I don't know.
Which some people think it's an engine upgrade. Some people think it's Cryptic North. Some people actually think he's developing STO 2.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna debunk a couple of these right now. If it were an engine update, Daniel Stoll would not be the person in charge of it. Stephen D'Angelo would be the person in charge of it. Because Stephen D'Angelo is an engineer.
And he's also the current EP.
Yeah, he's an engineer, and he's the current executive producer of Star Trek Online. He's not working on anything like involving an engine update. If he were, it would have his full attention, because Cryptic tends to use its engines for all its games. The engine for Champions Online is what's running Star Trek Online. It's what's running Neverwinter.
And that's why it's chugging.
And that's why it's chugging so hard. It's an old engine that was designed for another game. It's like, well, I was about to say the Gamebryo engine, but the Gamebryo engine, as unstable as it was still able to support multiple kinds of play. You know, you were still able to have stuff like VATS running in the Gamebryo engine in Fallout 3. But the Champions engine is an old engine designed for another game, and now it's running two games that it was never designed to run.
Although, Neverwinter is probably a lot more compatible with it.
Yeah,
Whereas
Neverwinter is probably
STO,
way more compatible with it.
whereas STO, I think Scotty said it one time. The engines can a ticket, Captain.
They can't take it. So yeah, if anybody was working on the engine update, it would be Steve. Daniel Stahl is not an engineer like Steve is, so he would be a pretty
He's a
poor.
politician.
He's not. He's not a politician either, but he's a project lead, and he's a project lead for a game. He's a project lead for like a title. He's a creative lead basically, and he does a good job as a creative lead. Like it's true. Like he does have a problem with ambition, and he did sort of like start reining himself in as time went by. But that is not something I begrudge him too much. I would love for the development staff of Star Trek Online to have ambition and set their sights high with this game. So,
Just not too high.
just not outrageously high, but I cannot fault them for having like a degree of ambition with a project that they enjoy. So, is he working on an engine update? No.
Probably not.
Is he working on STO 2? No. That is... The thing about Star Trek Online is it literally prints money.
Well, I think whoever started the rumor, because it was something I saw in the STO forum, so I know it's probably not true. But the reason he thought they were doing STO 2 is because he figured that the Star Trek IP license was something similar to what they have for like Spider-Man, where they've got to produce something every few years to keep it.
That's what Star Trek Online is.
I mean, like producing new games, not just updates.
No, it's they are in a constant process of producing new content, which I believe fulfills that. Like they're already enforcing it, and they're already enforcing it in books and like all kinds of other stuff. So the reason Sony needs to do that is because Sony does not own Spider-Man. Marvel owns Spider-Man. Sony like owns the rights to license it. They own the license to make movies on it, not the rights to license it. They own the license to make movies based on that, and if they don't exercise their license, like to a certain degree, they lose it. But Star Trek is owned by CBS and Paramount, and they license it out to Cryptic Studios, who are in the constant process of developing new content for the game that they have licensed. So it's really not the same problem as Sony had at all. And more to the point, as like I was saying before, Star Trek Online is literally the biggest thing Perfect World has. It's kind of it's become the gargantuan beast in a sense. It's more popular. It's the most popular Perfect World game. It eclipses Perfect World. It eclipses their flagship title. So there is no reason why they would jeopardize that at all by causing confusion developing a second title when this one is fine. It is doing just fine.
It's got some nitpicks.
It's got nitpicks, but that doesn't mean it's not like the biggest thing they have printing money for them every day.
For them, it's like the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, for them, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread that shuts down their servers every time there's a major content release.
I remember the Legacy of Romulus beta, the Neverwinter beta, live for both STO and Champions, and the account server just came down.
I remember the release of the fleet system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to talk about fucking
I think
cataclysmic
Season 9 is the
launch.
first time in a very long time that they actually haven't had a server crash.
No,
I don't remember having a server crash this season.
I don't remember it either. This has been one of the most stable season launch ever.
So here's to you, Cryptic. You finally made a season that doesn't crash your game. Bravo.
This has been great. Uh, I still occasionally get like massive, like weird shader errors, like showing me like the like make it look like I just like flew into the sun. But
And we both still chug about the Undine, and which is probably something we should get to about now.
yeah, let's go ahead and cover that.
The
So,
Undine
Undine
changes.
space content is a huge pain due to lag.
And the primary cause, in my opinion, is the Vela heavy bioship, which is their battleship. What does the Vela do? It fires a fluidic rift. What does the fluidic rift do? It spawns a dozen fluidic bubbles that are full of physics calculations. So it chugs the engine like nothing else in the game. It is terrible for frame rate. I think Alch put it best when he was IMing me. It's a slideshow 1 frame per 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And those fluidic rifts are the primary cause, in my opinion.
It's not just them, though. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about the space battle zone now.
And the space battle zone has a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. The space battle zone is specifically where I was when I was sending those messages. And here's the thing: is you have these Vela ships, you have these rifts spewing these bubbles everywhere, making all these physics calculations. But it's not just that. That's bad, but it's not just that. Because there's something else going on. That thing that's going on is everybody is flying around, and everybody has cannon scatter volley, and everybody has beam fire at will, and everybody has torpedo spread 3, and and everybody has a ship that is spawning tons of combat pets and Nimbus distress calls and fighters and shuttles and photonic fleets and fleet supports and all kinds of crazy stuff. And what is happening in Undine Assault, in the space battle zone, in the Solanae sphere, in
Viscous cycle, definitely.
Viscous cycle. Oh, that
Because that one is definitely the worst offender beside the battle zone, because it actually takes place in fluidic space, and there are physics calculations constantly.
what is happening here is the screen is being filled with garbage, and the engine. We were just talking about like the aged engine. The engine just can't handle it.
The engine's gonna kick it, Captain.
Yeah, the engine's gonna frickin' go belly up as a result of all this.
They're
It's
flying
insanity.
her apart.
It's literally flying itself apart. I'm sitting. It gets to a point where I'm in a space battle zone, and I literally, the moment I enter, I go to the zone selector or the instance selector, and I select the instance with the lowest population. And that only lasts for so long. Like, I'll be like fighting a planet killer, and guys, it does not take a swarm of like 10 people to take on these planet killers. At most, it takes 3. It's kind of ridiculous to like just keep swarming these points, because I see like this big like massive ball of players of like 10 to 20 players flying from place to place.
You mean the Fed ball?
No, it's not a Fed ball, because there's Starfleet
Klingons
players,
and
there's
Romulans.
KDF players, there's Romulan players, all flying in this huge laggy formation, and it's this weird phenomena where you have like all these players, all of them complaining about the lag they're experiencing, flying in a formation across the map, bringing that lag to other people as they go from point to point to point. And you don't need 10 people to capture these points. You don't need 2 people to capture most of these points.
I did it solo on Dribble quite a bit of times, and the only one I refuse to do is the Fed point because the fluid bubbles.
Like, and even then, that's not those aren't terribly bad.
They're just annoying to fly around.
They're just annoying to fly around,
But you know what is bad about them? At the Federation point, the more players are there, the
more bubbles. Yeah.
So you eventually cannot escape the bubbles.
Yeah, you eventually just like sit there. Just sort of like sit there and shoot at anything that like you get a clear shot at occasionally. But
And
like
take tons of dots.
most of these points don't take 2 people to capture, and the planet killers at most take 3. Guys, can we not have the flying swarm? Because the engine cannot take everybody in one place at once fighting with all the crazy attack buffs they're using and firing off, with all the pets they're firing off, with all the stupid stuff the Undine are doing with their bubbles and the rifts. Like, the engine literally cannot handle this. It's slideshowing for everybody present. So, like, can we have a little, I am proposing some sort of battle zone etiquette here. Like, if there's like 2 or 3 people on a point or fighting a planet killer, unless they are in really bad need of help and are calling for help, let them handle it. Just sort of
Don't go in.
Don't go in. Don't bring more trouble, because the moment you go in, they're facing even tougher odds, because the game will spawn more stuff to compensate for the new player having entered the area. So if you see 3 people there handling the planet killer and they're not calling for help and they're doing fairly well, just be hands off and let them handle it, and go see if you're needed elsewhere, because we don't need everybody in one place at one time on these battle zones. And I think
this was even a problem on Tribble, and Tribble's population is anemic most time.
Yeah. So, I think
it's a problem on Tribble, it's a problem on holodeck.
Yeah. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed the next time they do a space battle zone. Although, here's the thing: is I think a space battle zone was an interesting experiment, but I don't think, having seen it in practice, and considering how much crazier ship powers get over ground powers, I don't think this is an ideal thing going forward to do. Like, a space adventure zone was a great idea, but a space...
If only we had one.
We do. That's what the Sphere Allied space is.
Yeah, it could be bigger.
It could be, maybe, but it's an adventure zone is proven to work. You can consider the Allied zone a proof of concept. It works. It worked really well.
Yeah.
But
now, if you could give me something the proportional size of Mol Rihan, and I'll be happy.
But the battle zone does not.
It can't do it.
The engine can't handle it. It can't handle all that crazy crap happening at the same time. So, there either needs to be some a population limit, which won't happen, or it's some kind of rethinking of the basics of how a battle zone would work in space, because
need to redo the engine.
What has become abundantly clear, but that would cost a lot of money for them to do. So I don't think they're going to do that in the short term. But what needs to be done is a rethinking of what it means to have a battle zone in space, because what this has made abundantly clear is that it is impractical to take the formula for a ground battle zone and make that a space battle zone. It doesn't work that way. The powers are completely different. The screen is getting filled with garbage, and it's slideshowing for everybody involved. Even people with higher-end systems are experiencing incredible slowdown. We're talking 1 frame per second slowdown, if that. So, it was an interesting experiment.
But it has failed. For all intents and purposes.
Well, it hasn't entirely failed, but it needs to be rethought. This is something that they can come back and work on down the line and fix. And once they have figured out what it means to have a battle zone in space and how to manage all these players with these crazy powers doing all this stuff in a way that the engine can handle. Once they have figured that out, using the data they've gotten from this battle zone, they can come back and fix that. But for the moment, we
Can't be done.
for the moment we need like the player base needs to step up and kind of impose some form of order on this chaos. And the
I
and
look.
and it that can be done like that, like you see that in like special task forces all the time when people would like fly in and go 10%, you know, like
Yeah, it doesn't
just
happen all the time,
it
but
doesn't happen all the time, but all it takes is like one person sort of like
well, it
laying
does take
laying down the
everyone.
rules. Well, I know, but it takes one person to sort of explain, where people can go, like where people like should be able to go, like saying like if like somebody like needs help over there, like
The
all it takes is
problem,
one person to start that
Mhm.
trend.
The problem is it's largely decentralized. The community is in a lot of different places, and there are just a lot of people that are just entirely disconnected from the community. They don't go on the forums. They don't go on Fleet forums. They don't go on YouTube and watch videos, so they don't really hear about this stuff, and they get confused and they
Well,
just do
I'm talking
whatever.
about chat. I'm talking about in game,
There
like
are people that don't
talking to
even use that.
people. I know there are people who don't even use that, but how else are you going to communicate?
They
So
don't. That's the problem. There needs to be a centralized way of
it-
communicating across
here,
long
I know, but here's the thing: is you're not going to be able to get the people who are not going to communicate, but you can still talk to them.
and hope they listen.
That's the only thing you can do.
There needs to be a place where they're almost guaranteed to listen. Because I actually know some people that don't even bother going to the STO site for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's more coming into like behavior. That's more like
Yeah.
coming into like the place where they're almost guaranteed to listen. I don't think such a place could exist. Um, if somebody is determined to like not interact socially in a game that was initially marketed as being a social experience, that's you're not really going to make them unless you reach out to that person and start interacting with them and give them a reason to interact with the
Hmm.
community. So that could be so again reaching out to them at the outset of participating in this place in this like massively laggy battle zone, trying to make it so that it's a better experience for everybody by sort of establishing a trend of battle zone etiquette could be a way to help that person be more social in the game, but also a way to make it so that we can keep everybody from being slideshowed at 1 frame per second by the massive catastrophe of ships traveling across the map together.
Which
And
is actually kind of sad because that's something that really is Trek. Like giant fleets of ships fighting together. It's almost Dominion War-esque. It's something the game has really needed, and it's dying because of it. The engine cannot handle what the game needs.
well,
So
again,
really,
the game is not dying. The engine is another story.
what it really needs a new engine.
Yeah, this game. They were talking about a new engine last year, weren't they?
I think.
Like at some point last year, they were talking about developing a new engine for the game at some point. So like I said, that engine will probably be that will be a big deal when they start. Like you will know when they are working on that engine because it will be a huge deal when they are working on it because they will be pulling in everybody, and I mean everybody with expertise in building a good game engine to work on it. Stephen DeAngelo will not be executive producer of Star Trek Online if and when that engine is ever under development. He
Because
will
he
be
will be
working on that
engineering the
engine.
engine.
Um, he will be working on that engine, and you will know that they are working on it because if they are designing a new engine to be cutting edge and able to run all this stuff, they will be designing it not only for STO but for every game they have at the moment and every game they will be developing as we move forward. So
Hmm.
again, there's one more reason why that engine is not in development yet. you will be able to tell when they have started because there will be massive staff changes. Like massive waves of staff changes and reassigning of personnel, and when that engine is under development, it'll get crazy.
But that's
That'll be
really
how
what
you
the
know
game
when.
needs the most right now.
It is what the game needs the most. It'll also cost the most. It's also the thing that would cost the most to do. So that's why I doubt you're going to be seeing it at any point in the short term. I believe they were saying as much last year. That it would. It's a costly proposition. So, yeah.
Spe-
The Undine are laggy, and like people need to put their heads together and establish like an etiquette for the battle zone. And we seem to be losing LordIce, so hold on.